Alright, this is my second or third attempt recording this video. I've been way too hyped and I've been struggling to collect my thoughts. Mavs are in this series. They're tied 2-2. I still don't know if we're going to be able to pull it out. Suns are a buzzsaw. I've said this all year. They're the best team in the league for a reason. We're going to start off with a couple things. Uh, First of all, and probably the most notable thing, the thing that's going to be talked about the most about this game is Chris Paul's fouling out. Do I think Chris Paul deserved all those fouls? No. I especially think the sixth foul was complete horseshit. I'm a Mavs fan, and I think that. And I think that is going to take away from this win, but I don't care. A W is a W. Chris Paul was not aggressive when he was in. He got a lot of assists, as you can see one right there. However, he wasn't scoring much. He only had 5 points in 23 minutes. That's not a lot. He had 7 assists. And I know he had to play a little bit more slow and a little bit more careful because he was in foul trouble all game. But that's something of note. Ayton hasn't been as dominant these last 2 games compared to what he was in game 1 and 2. And I don't even know what's causing that. Like, we're not throwing that much defensive scheme differences on him. We're playing Powell less, but he was even smoking Maxey in game 1 and 2. He hasn't been as dominant on the boards. Nothing about him has been as shocking. I think we've probably guarded him a bit better in the pick and roll, and we've helped a little bit more in the pick and roll. But other than that, I don't really understand why he's not just crapping on us. I think they need to feed him a little bit more, and I expect them to feed him a little bit more in Phoenix. It helps that Chris Paul was in foul trouble today. That Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll gives me nightmares. Holy shit, Davis. What the fuck was Davis? Okay, I'm just going to talk about Davis real quick. I'll be back onto that. Davis Bertans was fucking prime Peja Stojakovic at the end of the first quarter and the start of the second. Like, what the fuck was he on? What kind of fucking PCP did they put in his cereal this morning? Davis Bertans, what the hell? I was literally talking to myself at the end of the end of the first when we checked him in, and I was like, why the hell are we checking in Davis? Like, what the fuck? And he just proceeds to hit 3 threes that were just nuts. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm just a fucking idiot. Jason Kidd knows what the hell he's doing. I don't. There's a reason he's a coach in the NBA, and I'm not. All right, back to the Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll. That thing is so scary. We have nothing to stop it. And with Chris Paul out, it helped us a lot. I'm going to talk about Miles Bridges a little bit in this series. He's been basically non-existent offensively. He hasn't been able to hit his threes. He's been doing nothing. Luckily for the Suns, Jay Crowder has been stepping it up immensely to make up for that. And the big thing for the Suns this game, the biggest bright spot, was definitely Devin Booker. He had 35 points on 22 shots, which is nuts. 12 for 13 from the line, 7 assists, 5 turnovers, but you can live with that. He was making everything, especially in the third, and he helped spark the Suns once Chris Paul fouled out, and it was just a little bit too little, too late. But I think Devin Booker, he's definitely going to come out with a bit of a spark and still feeling hot going into Game 5 in Phoenix. I'm going to move on to the Mavs. I'm going to talk about Luka first. Luka had a stinker of a game. 26 points on 25 shots. If Luka even has an okay game, I think we win this game by 20. He had 11 assists and 7 rebounds, but still not great. He had 7 free throws. 1 for 10 from 3. I don't get why he kept on going to his step back, and his step back just wasn't falling. And when he was driving, he was making almost everything. His post-ups weren't working the greatest this game, but they actually haven't been falling at all this series. But I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why he kept on going back to that step back when it just wasn't falling. I think his post-ups were working, but then he got doubled. He had a couple moves like that. But whenever he settled for the fade, it just wasn't working. He just needs the pound campaign and uh, Miles Bridges one more like step deeper and get that little hook or get a little drop step. He usually hits those a lot more efficiency. Usually he's good on that fade, but he just hasn't been hitting it this series. I'm going to talk about Brunson too. Brunson's been struggling this series. He's been covered a lot by Jay Crowder and Miles Bridges, and we all know Brunson can struggle against athletic wings that are a lot bigger than him. He was getting over that in the Jazz series, so I thought he might have outgrown that a little bit, but I also can't expect Brunson to be doing what he was doing in the Jazz series every single game. I still think he is a 20-point per game scorer. He had 18 today. He played well. He had 4 assists, 4 rebounds. He shot 17 shots, though, which isn't great efficiency-wise. Usually he's a lot better. Again, with him, too, I felt like he was settling for a lot of the elbow jumpers when he was getting in, and he was just nailing shit. And after that Frank Ntilikina shot, I'm going to talk about him a little bit. Frank took Josh Green's minutes in this series. I think that was a great adjustment by Jason Kidd. I think Josh Green has been struggling in the playoffs. He hasn't been shooting. He hasn't looked confident. And Frank has had staggering stats against Devin Booker this series. I think Devin Booker's made like 4 shots on him, and not an insanely large sample size of one-on-one matchups, but a significant one, probably like 15, 14 amount, which isn't very Devin Booker-like. He had that great steal, and he had a huge 3. I think Frank could even get more minutes. I think he adds another ball handler when things get a little tight as well. And that's going to lead us straight into that man right there. Dorian fucking Finney-Smith was a menace this game. He had 24 points on 8 for 13 shooting, all 24 from 3. He just could not miss. That shot had me jumping out of my seat, that last one. They just played their ass off, Dorian especially. He was great on defense too. He had 5 offensive rebounds. We weren't even doing anything that special to set him up. It was just mostly Luka drawing so much attention, and Luka does still draw attention even in poopy games like he did today where he shits the bed. And that helps him a lot. And Brunson's been drawing a lot more defensive attention recently as well, and that also helps Dorian. But Dorian was just also on one today. He was making everything. This was the Dorian game of the series. There's always one. And I love Dorian Finney-Smith in this game. The last person I want to talk about is Maxey, excuse me. Maxey's been great for us this series. He's been providing a lot of defense. He's been doing pretty well on Aiden. He's definitely our best option. He's not getting absolutely torched when he's being put on an island, which is good. They've been helping him a lot. And he was grabbing a lot of good clutch rebounds this game, which you don't really see much out of Maxey doing that. He also has been hitting his shots at a good enough rate, and he's been actually shooting middies recently, which is a little weird, but it's pretty good. He was also sitting in the paint a little bit this game. He had a couple of shots off cuts, which were really good. Other than that, there's not much more I want to talk about. The Mavs just played a phenomenal game. If Luka had a normal game, this was a blowout. And Chris Paul got into foul trouble. Who cares?